it's Yuenny, welcome back to my channel. I get a lot of questions about how I clean my bags, especially vintage and pre-loved items, so I thought I would share a video with you today on kind of some of the things I do when it comes to cleaning my bags. And one of the new bags that I've got recently, which is a vintage, I have tried to do some cleaning on it, so I just wanted to share with you kind of what I went through. So the bag I want to talk about today is my new to me vintage, true vintage Noe GM from Louis Vuitton. This bag was made in 1987, and to me anything kind of made in the 80s is a true vintage. I purchased this bag as a little project to kind of see how much of it I can actually sort of refurbish and clean. So I didn't actually spend that much on it at all, because I knew it was going to well, a big project kinda, or it's just going to fail completely, so I didn't want to spend too much on it. I got this a couple of weeks ago from eBay. Generally I buy bags, pre-loved bags that aren't like in too bad of a condition. I would say this is probably in the worst condition that I've ever bought a pre-loved bag in. Yeah, like I said, it was planned, and I'm willing to give it a go, see how much of it I can actually clean. This is actually what it looks like after I've cleaned it. I've been kind of on and off, done little bits on it in the last couple of weeks, and kind of see how much of I can do. I did record some footage on it, but not like a whole project. Like I said, I don't know how it would work out, so but I'll just talk through kind of what I've done. There are some videos on YouTube about how people clean pre-loved bags or vintage bags. But a lot of them I've come across are actually in the US, so all their products that they use are kind of, you can only get in the US. I guess you could probably get it here, but shipping costs will be quite expensive to the UK. So a lot of the products that other people have mentioned, I can't get hold of. I just kind of had to try other products, or just find other ways to clean them and try and test and see what works and what doesn't. I randomly bought something which is a leather conditioner, which has actually got aloe vera in it. I don't know if that's any good for Louis Vuitton Vachetta leather, but I thought I'll give it a go and see what happens. It did smell very nice, but I don't think it did very much to the cleaning of the leather. The cloth that I used was actually quite dirty afterwards, so I think it did kind of clean a bit, but not kind of the watermarks that I wanted to get rid of. That was like kind of the main thing why I wanted to clean the leather, is the watermarks, which was quite obvious, and there was one relatively dark stain, or I don't know if it's probably watermark, but it was quite dark and obvious on one of the corners, so that was the main thing I kind of wanted to get rid of. So the leather conditioner didn't actually do that much. So I cleaned it with that leather conditioner, and then I went over it with Loving My Bags Vachetta conditioner, which I bought a couple of years ago. I bought it to use on my first pre-loved bag, which is a Petit Noe, which I've sold. So that was the reason why I bought that, just to keep it kind of hydrated and not to dry out. So I bought that, which I've used on the Noe GM. Yeah, and then because the watermarks and all the stains kind of didn't really disappear, so after that I kind of thought, well, maybe it won't disappear, it would just stay there forever. And then I thought, oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter, I would just accept it. I would just accept it kind of failed. But then I really wanted to clean it. I really wanted to get rid of the watermarks, or at least kind of make it less obvious. So I used a method which I honestly wouldn't recommend. I did initially try on the Petit Noe a couple of years ago, trying to kind of give it a little bit of clean when I took it out after it was chucking it down outside, and I had a bit of a watermark on the strap, so I kind of wanted to get rid of it or even it out a little bit. So I used a baby wipe. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people kind of swear by it and say, oh, you know, alcohol and perfume free baby wipes work great for cleaning and evening out vachetta leather. I personally don't recommend it after I've tried it on my Petit Noe, because I feel like after I've used the baby wipe on the leather, the leather just looked very dry and felt very dry, and since then I don't recommend it. And yeah, I just personally, yeah, keep saying don't use it. If you don't want to dry leather out, don't use it. But on this occasion and on this project, I thought I'll just give it a go, because that was kind of my aim, is to not spend a lot on bag and see how much I can refurbish it. So I used baby white on this Noe GM. It did kind of even out the watermarks, and I think it cleaned it quite well in a way, and I think after using it, it does look a lot better, but I do feel like the leather is more dry than when I first received it. So, but I kind of expected it because I knew from a couple of years ago, so I didn't mind giving it a go. So to get rid of the watermarks, I kind of just scrubbed it with baby wipes, and the mark that was quite dark on the corner, that was the problem. I think that was the main thing that I really wanted to get rid of. So I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed quite hard. It was almost to the point where I was taking off the top layer of the bruschetta leather just to get rid of the mark, or just to get it lighter. It was quite vicious scrubbing, I would say, and I definitely don't recommend it. And yeah, it was just to see what would happen. So I was scrubbing really hard. It kind of worked. The mark is now a lot lighter compared to when I first got it, but like I say, it did dry out the leather a bit, even after using the Loving My Bag bruschetta conditioner. It still looks quite dry. It did kind of lighten the bag in general, like overall it just looks lighter. So it kind of worked, but yeah, again, I don't recommend it unless you are kind of going into it like with the intentions that I did, by not spending a lot on a bag and just treat it as a project. If it fails, then it fails. Kind of, that's what I did on cleaning the bag. It did come with a drawstring, but it's very dry. It just feels quite hard and just very uncomfortable to use. But I didn't want to throw it away because I feel like, I presume it is the original one from this bag back in 1987, so I wanted to keep it, so I just did that on there. I don't know what it is, but I just thought I'll keep it. But instead I'm just using kind of a little twilly type thing that I got from eBay ages ago, which is like 99p or something, just to use that for now. I probably will replace the drawstring at some point, but I thought this kind of looks quite good, and temporarily kind of just have something to close my bag. And this is, yeah, the result of it. The reason I really wanted a vintage is because the strap is different. It's actually the thinner strap compared to the newer model, and I just love vintage. I personally just can never get enough of vintage bags. That's one of the main reasons I buy pre-loved. The other reason is to get bags that are discontinued, or SLGs that are discontinued, and obviously the third reason would be it's cheaper. Who wouldn't want to save some money? This bag has, when it first arrived, it didn't have any cracks, or the leather wasn't too bad, like around like all the trims and all the strapping underneath, but obviously after I scrubbed, it's a little bit drier, but like I say, I accept it and that's fine. So the watermarks are not as obvious as before. You can probably still see it a little bit, but it's not as obvious, and underneath as well, which I cleaned up quite a bit. The very dark mark that I originally mentioned is this corner, and after scrubbing a lot, it's a lot lighter. You can still see it. I could definitely still see it, but it's definitely not as bad as at the start when I first got it, but then that dark mark, the little black bit there, it didn't come off. But it's definitely dried out the leather on the corner. I guess if it does get really, really bad in the future, I'll just replace all the leather on it, or replace the bits that's really bad. The one thing I don't want to get rid of by replacing the leather is actually the strap, like I say, because it's got the thinner strap, which I like. And also it's got a date code of A2873, which is a true vintage, and I love it. And also the F on the Made in France is a lowercase f, which is also what I love about vintage. It's just different and just makes it special. Some people worry about smell with vintage and old bags. I've been quite lucky that in the past I have, well, most listings that I kind of look at on eBay, I do check whether it says whether it has any smell or odour, because I'm quite sensitive and I don't like anything obviously that smells disgusting. So over the past I've always kind of looked at that and then made sure it says no smell or no odour, and generally it's not disappointed. Like I do get what it actually says on the listing. But this time, this one did say it did come with a little bit of smell. It says like a little smell of keeping. That's kind of what they normally describe it as. But I was expecting it to be a lot worse, but it's not at all. It's just a little bit like if you just kept something for a long time and it smells a little bit old, but it's not disgusting and gross as what I was expecting it to be. That was the other reason I kind of got one for cheaper and as a project to see if I can get rid of really bad smell. But I didn't really have to do anything regarding the smell because it's not that bad at all. I did wipe the canvas and also the interior. Probably not the best thing to use, but I did use antibacterial washing up liquid and damp cloth and kind of just wipe the inside as much as I can. And I also used the same washing up liquid on the canvas outside, just antibacterial stuff, just to give it a good clean. I didn't think it's made any change in regards to the smell, but like I said, it doesn't smell that bad. It's like, I'm happy with it, although I'm very sensitive, but it doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, and this is what it looks like. I am very happy. I love how slouchy and soft it is. It's just such a nice bag. I did have the, like I said, I did have the Petit Noe and I sold it. The reason being because the strap kept slipping off my shoulder. I don't know whether it's because of the shape of the bag, and it was just high. It just sat higher up the bag that I had before. Whereas this one's a lot longer, so I feel like it just doesn't fall off like the Petit Noe does. So I'm so glad I got this one. I did think for a long time whether I should get the Noe GM or another Petit Noe, but then I kind of decided I'll try a different one because it didn't work. The Petit Noe didn't work out previously. I didn't want to then just go through the whole thing of buying the same bag and then not working out. So yeah, I think this was a great decision. Just the fact that it's vintage. The other thing I wanted to do when I got this bag was to clean the hardware, but I didn't actually do it yet. I will, but I haven't actually cleaned it yet because it's not that bad. I guess I could definitely make it more shiny, but for now I'm happy with just having the leather and the canvas cleaned and just see how it goes. It's still kind of an ongoing little project. Obviously, I want to also see what the result is by using baby wipes and scrubbing like I did on the leather. Long term, it might have done the bag some damage. In the long run, the fact that I didn't pay that much for this bag at all, I probably will just keep it. If it does fall apart, then it falls apart. But I think it's a great bag to have. It's not as big as I thought it would. A lot of people say it's very big to kind of use on a daily basis, or it's just they prefer like the Petit Noe because this was too big. But I personally don't think it is. I think it looks okay on my body frame. I'm 5'5". I don't think it looks too big at all. I was kind of expecting it to be really big like the Noe GM, but comparing to that bag, this one's actually quite small. I think it looks not huge. It doesn't look overwhelming. So I feel like I've done a lot of talking. I'm probably rambling and going all over the place, but hopefully that kind of gave you an idea on how I cleaned this bag in particular. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Again, just a warning, just if you decide to use the methods that I've used to clean your bags, it's kind of in your own risk, which is the risk I was willing to take. I don't necessarily recommend anyone using the method that I used, but it's just something I wanted to share, and because I get a lot of questions on how I clean them, so I thought I'll just share it with you quickly. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.